Hello and welcome to a new podcast from the Belt and Road Institute in Sweden. My name is Hussein Askary. Today is Tuesday, July the 22nd. Today we have a very, very special subject with a very, very special guest from Central Asia, from the Republic of Kyrgyzstan. Central Asia is usually known in history, literature, and geopolitics as the heartland, according to Halford Mackinder's theory of the heartland and the rimland. Whoever controls the heartland controls the world island, which is Eurasia. And this has been the core of British geopolitics for centuries in what is known as the Great Game between the Russian Empire and the British Empire, which was controlling India and parts of Afghanistan. But that Great Game ended, I guess, in a certain way, the old version of it by the withdrawal of the United States and NATO forces from Afghanistan in 2021. But there's a new situation developing in the region, thanks to the Belt and Road Initiative and the cooperation between China, Central Asian nations, but also in a certain way to the more warming of relations between China and Russia and how that affects the whole region. So today we are very, very honored to have with us today a very special guest, His Excellency, Mr. Djoomart Otorbaev, the former Prime Minister of Kyrgyzstan. Thank you, sir, for taking time from your busy schedule to be with us and share your insights with us.
My pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much. Maybe I should mention the fact that Your Excellency have a book which was, I think, published last year. It's called Central Asia's Economic Rebirth in the Shadow of the New Great Game. Of course, we discussed the geopolitical great game, but now there are new economic realities. And what do you think is emerging out of the Belt and Road Initiative, China's growing relationship with the nations of Central Asia, and the role of Kyrgyzstan in this whole picture?
We are lucky to have such a neighbor as China, the booming economy and the economy number 2 in the world, also willing to make friendship all around the world, and of course with their neighbors. But I would like to underline one important thing with many people underestimating. When you negotiate with China, you should be able to provide your own ideas, even though our economies and the countries are with a different size. If someone keep quiet, China would suggest and everybody would agree, then things will go on and on and on. But if you have equal partners around the table, which we are, we can tell to Chinese what should be done in the interest of our nations. That is equal dialogue between equal partners. But moreover, now we showing ourselves to outside world not as 5 different countries, but as one cluster of countries with unified policies towards outside world. Very important because in terms of economic power, even in terms of population, Central Asia is not big. Overall, we only have 82 million people, and the size of our economies, all 5, smaller than the economy of Singapore. So we have to be modest, and we have to work hard in order to improve level of life of our citizen and to be friendly to everyone. That is what we are doing with China. This is a real dialogue. Nobody insisting on anything. We communicating, cooperating in equal terms. The key element of this cooperation is a very good political relationships with Chinese leadership. And every year we have more and more understanding what each of us need. So therefore, economic relationships are booming. Therefore, people-to-people and cultural exchange are developing on a healthy way. So we provide to Chinese our opinion how we should work together. And they are happy to follow our advice, of course, understanding their own priorities. So there's equal communication and cooperation going on currently, and we are really seeing huge opportunities for our cooperation in the future, not against anybody else. That is a key element, that we're making friendship with someone not against anybody else. And I think that everybody around the world understands it very clearly. Nobody coming to us anymore with saying, oh, you should not do with that country A or do country B, whatever. There's nobody coming to us anymore with such a strange assumption that we can do friendship with against anybody.
Yes, this is very, very important point, Your Excellency, because on the one hand, you emphasize the question of equality, that although China is a huge country next to Kyrgyzstan, which is a much smaller country, but you still act as equals. And this is very, very important in international relations. But on the other side, you also have, you are managing to balance between the major powers, like you welcome everyone. The investments from all over the world are actually coming more and more to Central Asia, and you are making it clear to everybody that we treat everybody as equal. We don't want to be part of games anymore. There's economic cooperation. As you said, the population is small, but the size of Central Asia and its geographical importance is very big. The relationship, I was in China, Western China last year in Xinjiang, about 2 weeks, and I saw the enormous economic development taking place there. And I think this will be reflected in relationship to Central Asia, but especially Kyrgyzstan, which is bordering on Xinjiang. There was the idea that was before that Xinjiang will be just a bridge for transporting goods from South and East China to Europe. But now Xinjiang is evolving as an industrial and logistics hub. In 2023, the Chinese government invested $70 billion in industrial, technological, and other projects in Xinjiang, and one of them is the pilot free trade zone. In Kashgar and Kyrgyz and all these parts of Western China. But now, last year, you reached an agreement with China to start building the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan Railway, which is one of the most important projects in Eurasia, which has been waiting for many years. It's a 480-kilometer long project. But it's the largest section of that railway, which starts in Kashgar and goes through Kyrgyzstan to Uzbekistan, is inside Kyrgyzstan. Like 318 kilometers of that is in Kyrgyzstan. But it's very, very complicated geographical area. It will require building 80 bridges and 13 tunnels and all these things. One thing which people misunderstand about the Belt and Road Initiative is they think this is all about trade. So building this railway will facilitate shipping goods from China to Europe. But what about Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan? What impact will this infrastructure, new infrastructure, have on the economy and the livelihood of the people of Kyrgyzstan? This is not being discussed because we believe the Belt and Road Initiative is a development project rather than just simply a trade project. So how important this China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan railway for your country?
I would like to start with the fact that last year, partly because of the problems in the Red Sea, the train freight between China and Europe became cheaper than sea trade. This is revolution. So it's not only speed and environmental impact, but also the simple economics, which ruling so-called Eurasian rail revolution, where enormous traffic going on between Europe and China, not anymore dominated by sea, but more and more dominated by rail. So it's all routes coming through Central Asia, and China is especially interesting in this development because it's linked Chinese inner provinces to the outside world, like Shanxi, Gansu, Inner Mongolia, and Xinjiang provinces, benefiting enormously because they can ship goods directly to Europe much quicker than, let's say, southeastern provinces of China. Even southeastern provinces of China start to ship goods to Xi'an, and then from Xi'an it's moved to Europe. So this is a remarkable event, which is very important for China. It's even more important for Central Asia because our geography, which is landlocked, determines everything in our lives. In early days of Great Silk Roads, our region was the most prosperous in the world because of trade between China and Europe. So now we see with the rail revolution opportunities to revive Old Silk Road and to get Central Asia back to the world map. It's not only east-north connectivity, it's also north-south. And with that, Central Asia became hub of Eurasia, as it was during the whole good days of Great Silk Road. Which benefits we will get because railway will be passing our territory? We will be able to trade with China, Asia, European countries, even to South Asia countries with much lower transportation costs. So it tremendously will improve competitiveness of our economy. So suddenly we get competitive and be able to provide our goods and services all around Eurasia. It's not only train China, Europe, but we will be able to use these railways to achieve any markets in Eurasia we wish. So this is direct economic impact. And through Central Asia, there are few railroads already working, all of them through Kazakhstan, partly because of the geography. But now, as you already mentioned, last year, 3 countries, us, Uzbekistan and China, decided to build railway through our territories, which will be 900 kilometers shorter than any of existence railway distance. It will move most probably through so-called middle corridor. It will move from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Caspian Sea, Azerbaijan, further to Georgia, Black Sea, or Turkey. With that, especially that European partners very much interested in developing this corridor, we will have more traffic moving through this new Silk Road. So again, the benefits will see everybody, all countries around the route, and with the speed, with the new technology, which in railway now having, we will see enormous development of this new bridge. Suddenly from landlocked region, we will converting ourselves from land connected. And if we add to that there is a new projects which will be connecting north and south, from Russia, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan to Iran, Afghanistan to the deep seas of the Indian Ocean in India, Iran, and Pakistan, then we will see conversion of Central Asia to real transportation hub.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting because breaking the rules of geopolitics, the control over the seas by the previous powers. People say that one of the reasons for World War I was the building of the Berlin-Baghdad Railway, because that would outflank the British control, the British Navy control over the seas, and this now we have as establishing completely new relations on Eurasia by land, but also it's not as you mentioned, Your Excellency, is not directed against anyone, but it's for the benefit of the nations of the region. So this idea of win-win is not simply a philosophy or a slogan, it's a practice right now. You mentioned the fact of connecting not only to the north, but also to the south, to India, Pakistan, and of course, you cannot do that without going through Afghanistan. Afghanistan, which is not mentioned so much in the news these days, is witnessing a very interesting economic activity, because China, first of all, is very interested in cooperation with the new leaders in Afghanistan. There are many projects, joint projects, not only in mining, but also infrastructure projects. The Afghanis themselves are very interested in developing the agriculture. They're building water projects and others. But the Central Asian nations have shown special interest in connecting Afghanistan to the Central Asian economies, like there's a Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan Railway, and other projects to, as you mentioned, to connect this whole region. What is the impact of the shift in Afghanistan on this whole situation? Are we going to see peace through economic development, or shall we see new rivalries in the region?
First of all, Afghan nation are our brothers. So all along the history, Afghanistan was critical part of Greater Central Asia. Only because of the so-called Great Game, when British and Russian Empire divided Central Asia in two parts, when British took Afghanistan and Russian Empire took the rest of Central Asia, moved our aside from each other. But we are close to each other nations, so we have to do everything in order to cooperate, trade, invest, and build peaceful cooperation with that country. That is, we are doing step by step, and already from many years we're discussing infrastructure projects with Afghanistan. Already trade going on, of course, and there is a good, let's say, political relationships between ourselves. But now we're discussing new projects. First of all, railways. Again, railways. Last week, the foreign ministers of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Uzbekistan met in Kabul. And in their presence, ministers of transportation and infrastructure of three countries signed an agreement on making bankable feasibility study to build a railroad, so-called Kabul corridor, which will be linking Uzbek city of Termez through Afghan cities of Mazar-e-Sharif, Kabul, to Peshawar in Pakistan, further down to the Gwadar or Karachi seaports in Pakistan. So it's a quite big project, and now all parties would be starting to find the financial sources how to build it. It's a couple of billions of dollars, as well as a lot of technologies will be involved. But political decisions has been made. Now we're going to do next step. Moreover, Turkmenistan also will be building part of the railroad through the western provinces of Afghanistan to link the city of Herat in Afghanistan with Ashgabat, etc. Right? So it's Afghanistan going on. Besides, there is a big project on mega project, I would say, on potential of transportation of Turkmenistan natural gas from Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, so-called TAPI gas pipeline. And all countries involved are really willing to start this project as well. So pre-Taliban government, pre-Taliban era, such institutions as Asian Development Bank or World Bank were prepared, other Western financial institutions were prepared to finance this project. Not anymore because of political situation, but we will do it. We will be talking to everybody around the world in terms of participating in projects of like that, which will be mutually profitable and useful for everyone. So with that, we will be making more connection to Afghanistan. Afghanistan will be benefiting out of the transit potential. More trade will be going on, more communication between people. And then we would be willing to see Afghanistan in our family of Central Asian nations as soon as possible.
Yeah, this is there has been interesting developments concerning Afghanistan. Not only China recognized the Taliban government actually quite early in the process after the 2021 withdrawal, but also Russia recently recognized the Taliban as a representative, and they opened the embassy in Moscow for the Afghan government. So there is a lot of speculation about the old rivalry between China and Russia, not only between Russia and the British Empire, but people say one of the reasons that the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan project went through is because Russia no longer opposes that. But I wonder, why would Russia oppose something which could be beneficial? And there's a lot of geopolitical speculation about the different routes, like the China-Europe route as vis-a-vis the Russia-Iran-India route, the north-south transport corridor, international transport corridor. But we don't see there's any rivalry between these things because it will benefit everybody to work together. India, Russia, China, they can work together in this region. So what is the great game? You mentioned your book is about the economic great game, but is there more integration or there is more splitting of relations among nations because of the economic benefits of the connectivity?
It is clear conspiracy theory about not allowing Central Asia to do something because it's not in interest of the more powerful neighbors. All our powerful neighbors, China, Russia, India, others, they're willing to see Central Asia as a prosperous place with a developed market with whom those powers would cooperate, trade, and make friendship. So if Central Asia will benefit out of one or another project, for example, through the development of the middle corridor, nobody would object. Yes, it's competition, but all countries that I mentioned understand that competition is good for the fundamental reasons. So Russia, understanding that part of the rail traffic will be moved to the middle corridor, but they must be doing something in order to compete successfully. So and they never said, don't do it. They never said, don't do it. They said, do it in your national interests and do whatever you think practical and beneficial for your nations. So that is why we're making these steps, and it's not impossible that to build, let's say, middle corridor, and then next to other countries, our neighbors also will be participating and as stakeholders, also benefiting out of development Central Asia as a rail hub, a Eurasian railway hub. So this is not anymore divide and rule policy as in the colonialistic area. We have to be successful when we compete. Yeah. And that is why we're also talking to China on the same terms. Many around the world understanding and recognizing that to compete with China is a very complicated task. But we do it in Central Asia. We say that we will be cooperating and competing. Only then we will be recognized as valuable partner. There are no free lunch in this world. This is everybody should understand. So we cooperating with bigger power around the world, including our neighbors, understand that in order to be successful, we must be competitive.
Yeah, there's something behind this conspiracy theory is that rivalry. I mean, competition doesn't necessarily mean something bad. It's just that each nation have to look for their own national interest, but within the larger framework of competition. And there's also this, one of the reasons we have this geopolitical problem is there's a mentality of the zero-sum game, that there's only a limited amount of goods to be shipped. So if you build the middle corridor, Russia will lose part of it. But with economic development, we will need more and more corridors, because the volume of trade will increase by twofold, threefold, fourfold. You never know. Because with the economic growth of all these nations, we will need more transport corridors to absorb the increasing volume of the trade. So this zero-sum game mentality is really quite problematic, and people don't understand economics because of that. Because with economic development, everything changes. You will need more connections between nations, because the old roads are not enough. So, that it's very important that you point at this issue. Finally, there's the question of the cultural dimension and people to people. You mentioned, Your Excellency, that Kyrgyzstan and Central Asian nations were a key component of the ancient Silk Road. And of course, you have great advantages because of your historical and cultural background with all the neighboring countries. Like even in Xinjiang, you have cultural connections to Xinjiang and China. You have even with Russia, you have with Iran and Afghanistan and India. So how important is this cultural aspect of connection to nations? I mean, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which just had a big major meeting in China, is more of a security relationship. But will this security relationship transform into, as we see, economic, but also cultural connection among the people to reduce the tension between those major powers?
Yes, 4 out of 5 Central Asian countries, we are founding members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and we are happy to see that this organization transform itself from the club where we'll discuss our borders between our countries and let's say and China and Russia, to full-scale influential, huge influential organization worldwide. It's not security only. Security, one of the elements of pillars on which Shanghai Cooperation Organization is based. In the center of this cooperation is economic cooperation, I would say, as well as cultural cooperation. That is why we continuously talking about how to improve our trade, mutual investment, and people-to-people exchange. It's interesting that in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, there are few quite powerful countries around the world, like China, Russia, India, Iran, who are involved in big projects around, in a big competition around the world. You can see it every day. But the fact that 4 Central Asian countries are inside the organization make a very interesting synergetic effect. Perhaps certain subject which India or Pakistan or China would not discuss with each other on their bilateral formats, they openly discuss in more broader format, like it happened in a recent foreign ministers meeting of Shanghai Cooperation Organization in China, where more or less harmonious proposal has been formulated for the summit of head of state and government to be held 31st August and 1st September in Tianjin in China. So we expect that this summit will be another important step in bringing countries closer to each other. If you look to the composition of SCO, then you can see it should not be too easy to find consensus, because in SCO all decisions built on consensus. For instance, there are India and Pakistan, India and China, Russia and other countries, Iran. But because we have this format where we're also part of it, And we always were friends with all of these countries, making the format more, I would say, friendly. Let me speculate on that way. So I believe that the presence of Central Asian countries in the organization is extremely important, and everybody understands it. At the same time, being part of this big club association make our authorities in the outside world more visible. I already told you that economically, in terms of population-wise, we are not big. But still, we have to be visible and be part of the international community, and we will be able to raise our voice in global international issues as well. So this is also good for us to be part of this organization, which day by day gaining more and more influence.
Yes. Well, that's great, and we are looking forward to see more of these kind of interaction between nations and the special role of your country and Central Asian nations, which are always obscured into this bigger geopolitical manipulation. So I really thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Concerning your book on the economic great game, how can people get that book? What address should we offer our readers so they can contact you?
It's very easy. You go to Amazon, Google, wherever. You will find anything, because it was published in Routledge in the UK and in New York as well. So it's very easy to jump into Amazon, Routledge, or whatever, and to look any format which you want.
Yeah. Very good. We will have a link in the description of this video to the Routledge publisher. And we are very honored to having you with us. Hope to see you sometime in the context of the Belt and Road Initiative.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you
very
much.